23,000 feet above Germany. March 6th, 1944. Hell's Fury, a B-17 flying fortress, pushed deep into enemy territory. Staff Sergeant Michael Donovan sat in the tail gun position, the most exposed, most vulnerable spot on the entire aircraft. Through his gun sight, he watched 12 Messerschmitt Bf-109s materialize from the clouds, forming up for the kill. Everything Donovan had been taught said wait, conserve your ammunition, fire defensively, protect yourself, stay alive. Mike Donovan had different ideas. 4 minutes later, 12 German fighters were falling from the sky, 0 American casualties, and every bomber crew in the 8th Air Force was about to learn a word that would change aerial warfare forever. Aggression. This is the story of how a street fighter from South Boston became the deadliest tail gunner in the European theater. How desperation became doctrine. How one man's refusal to play defense turned the tail gun position from a death trap into the most feared weapon in the sky. This is the story of Mad Mike Donovan, and the 4 minutes that changed everything. Michael Donovan learned how to fight before he learned how to read. South Boston in the 1920s wasn't a neighborhood. It was a survival course. His father worked the docks. His older brother boxed Golden Gloves. Mike watched both men come home every night, exhausted, battered, but standing. The lesson was simple. You hit first, or you get hit. By age 17, Mike had been in 32 street fights, 28 wins, 4 losses. Each loss started the same way. He'd waited, sized up the opponent, and while he was thinking, the other guy was swinging. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor. Mike enlisted the next morning. They wanted him for ground crew. He insisted on gunnery school. The instructor saw a problem immediately. Too aggressive, too reckless. After the 3rd training exercise, he pulled Donovan aside. "You're going to get yourself killed up there. Defensive fire keeps gunners alive." Donovan's response became legend. "Dead gunners don't shoot back, Sergeant. Live ones do." He graduated 3rd in his class. Not because his accuracy was the best, because his speed was unmatched. While other gunners tracked the lead fighter, Donovan had already identified the wingman and was squeezing the trigger. His secret wasn't complicated. He didn't wait for fighters to enter his firing zone. He hunted them before they got there. March 1944. Framlingham, England. The B-17 bomber, Hell's Fury, had a reputation. 3 missions, 2 catastrophic encounters, 47 bullet holes, 1 dead waist gunner. The tail gunner, Sergeant Eddie Morrison, survived but immediately requested transfer. "Next man who sits back there dies," Morrison told the crew chief. Donovan volunteered immediately. Captain James Whitmore interviewed him personally. "You know the statistics. Tail gunner position has the highest casualty rate. 38% don't finish their tour." Donovan shrugged. "Then I've got 62% odds. I'll take them." "Why would you volunteer for this?" "Because I don't wait for them to shoot me, Captain. I shoot first." Whitmore studied the kid, 20 years old, confidence that bordered on arrogance. But there was something else, not bravado, calculation. "You're insane," Whitmore said finally. "You'll fit right in." March 2nd, 1944. Donovan's first mission. Target, ball bearing factory at Schweinfurt. The Luftwaffe threw everything they had at the bomber stream. Bf-109s, FW-190s, veteran pilots who knew exactly how to pick apart American formations. Standard tail gunner tactics were simple. Wait for the fighters to commit to their attack run. Wait until they entered effective range. Then open fire. Defensive, reactive. Conservative with ammunition, because you never knew how many attacks you'd face. Donovan did the opposite. When the first BF 109 appeared at 2,000 yards, still forming up with its wingmen, Donovan opened fire. Long burst, most of the rounds missed by hundreds of feet, but the tracer stream cut through the sky right where the German formation was trying to organize. The effect was immediate. The fighters scattered. Lead aircraft broke right. Wingmen hesitated. The attack pattern disintegrated before it could start. "Cease fire!" Whitmore's voice crackled over the intercom. "Donovan, you're wasting ammunition." "Negative, sir. Watch what happens." The German fighters regrouped, but cautiously now. No aggressive diving attack. They probed, tested, and while they were testing, Donovan was tracking. When one BF 109 committed to an attack run, Donovan didn't target the lead fighter like Doctrine said. He aimed at the wingman, the one flying predictable patterns to maintain formation, the one not expecting return fire yet. The wingman exploded. The lead fighter, suddenly alone, broke off immediately. Donovan shot down one, confirmed that mission, damaged two more. But what caught everyone's attention wasn't his kills. It was his method. He'd prevented 6 separate attack runs by firing early, by forcing the Germans to react to him instead of executing their plan. The crew chief, Sergeant Frank Murphy, counted the ammunition expenditure after landing. "You fired 1,600 rounds. Standard load is 2,000. You used 80% of your ammo on one mission." "And we didn't get hit once," Donovan replied. "I'll take that trade every day." That night in the barracks, Donovan couldn't sleep. He'd disrupted attacks, prevented damage, but he hadn't maximized his effectiveness. He studied German fighter tactics, how they approached, where they positioned, what they expected. German fighters attacked in coordinated waves, 4 to 6 aircraft in echelon formation, approaching from stern quarter high. The lead fighter drew defensive fire. The mighty wingman exploited the gunners' focus on the primary threat. American gunners followed Doctrine. Track the lead threat. Engage when certain of hits. Conserve ammunition. Donovan saw the flaw. American gunners reacted. Germans dictated. The initiative belonged to the attacker. What if you reversed it? What if you attacked first? What if you forced the enemy to react to you? It violated every principle of defensive gunnery. It would burn through ammunition. It would expose the tail gunner to return fire. But defensive Doctrine had a 38% casualty rate. Maybe it was time to try something insane. Pre-mission briefing. Target, aircraft factory at Augsburg, 800 B-17s. Intelligence predicted 2,500 German fighters waiting for them. Heavy losses expected. Whitmore gathered his crew. "This one's going to be rough. Stay sharp. Stay alive. Watch your sectors." Donovan raised his hand. "Permission to try something different, sir." "Like what?" "Aggressive fire. I want to engage fighters before they commit to attack runs. Force them to defend before they can attack." Whitmore frowned. "That burns ammunition. You'll be dry before the real fight starts. Or I'll prevent the real fight." Donovan leaned forward. "Sir, we've been playing defense for 2 years. How's that working? 38% tail gunner casualty rate. Maybe it's time we stopped waiting to get shot." The pilot considered this. The kid had a point. Defensive Doctrine kept you alive by making you a hard target. But you were still a target, still reacting to German initiative, still waiting for the attack to come. "You've got one mission to prove it," Whitmore said finally. If we get shredded, you're off the gun." "Deal." They took off at 0647 hours, formation assembly over East Anglia, climbed to altitude, crossed the channel, entered German airspace at 0824. The routine felt almost mechanical, until the call came at 0919. "Fighters, 6 o'clock high, 12 bandits." Donovan swiveled his twin 50s. 12 BF-109s, 2,000 yards out, forming up for a coordinated attack. Standard response: wait until they commit, then engage the lead fighter. Donovan opened fire immediately. Maximum range, 2,000 yards, low probability hits. The tracers arced through empty sky. Most missed by hundreds of feet. The German formation scattered. "Donovan, cease fire!" Whitmore's voice was sharp. "You're wasting ammunition!" "Negative, sir! Watch what happens next!" The German fighters regrouped, but cautiously now. Not the aggressive diving attack pattern they'd planned. Hesitant, probing. The initiative had shifted. They were reacting to Donovan instead of executing their attack plan. Donovan tracked the new lead fighter, waited until 1,500 yards, opened fire again. Short controlled bursts, not aiming to hit, aiming to intimidate. The formation broke again. But one BF-109 maintained. Course, wingman on the left, aggressive, experienced. This was a veteran pilot who wouldn't be intimidated by tracer fire. Donovan let him close. 1,400 yards, 1,300, 1,200. The range where most gunners would open, sustained fire. Donovan held. The German closed further. 1,100 yards, 1,000. Now the fighter filled his sights. Donovan fired. Not a burst, a sustained barrage. 200 rounds in 3 seconds. The concentration of fire was overwhelming. The BF-109 tried to brake, but flew directly into the stream of tracers. The engine exploded. The aircraft disintegrated. Pieces tumbled earthward. "Good kill!" The radio operator's voice cracked over the intercom. "Donovan just splashed one." But Donovan wasn't celebrating. He was already tracking the next target. The remaining 11 fighters had regrouped. Now they knew the tail position was dangerous. They'd adjust tactics, come from different angles, split his attention. Donovan expected this. He'd planned for it. When the fighters split into 2 groups, 6 attacking from 6 o'clock, 5 from 7 o'clock, Donovan didn't try to engage both. He focused everything on the 6 o'clock group. "Waist gunners, you've got 7 o'clock, he called. "I'm holding 6. Sergeants Tommy Price and Carl Johnson opened fire on the 7 o'clock group. Donovan concentrated on his sector. 6 fighters diving toward Hell's Fury. He picked the lead aircraft, fired, hit. The fighter exploded. The remaining 5 broke formation momentarily. Donovan immediately shifted to the new lead fighter, fired again. Another hit, another explosion. In 30 seconds, 3 BF-109s fell from the sky. The remaining 9 fighters broke off completely, not retreating to reposition for another attack. Full retreat, fleeing from a single tail gun position. The formation flew on. Donovan reloaded, checked his ammunition. He'd expended 1,200 rounds, 800 remaining. Enough for 1 more sustained engagement, or 2 brief ones. The question was whether the Germans would return. They did. 15 minutes later. 18 fighters this time. A full staffel. They'd seen what happened to the first group. They were prepared. They attacked from multiple vectors simultaneously. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Overwhelming firepower from every stern quarter. Standard response. Defensive fire. Try to cover all angles. Divide attention. survive through evasion and luck. Donovan chose violence. He ignored the 4 and 5 o'clock attackers. Let the waist and ball gunners handle them. He focused everything on the 6 o'clock direct stern attack. 6 BF-109s diving straight at Hell's Fury's tail. Donovan didn't flinch, didn't try to evade. He locked his guns on the lead fighter and opened fire at 1,200 yards, maximum effective range for his twin 50s. The closing speed between bomber and fighter was 400 knots. That gave him exactly 7 seconds before the German reached firing position. Donovan used all 7. He walked tracers directly into the lead BF-109's flight path. The fighter couldn't evade without breaking attack formation. The pilot held course. Fatal mistake. At 800 yards, Donovan's rounds found metal. The fighter's canopy shattered. The aircraft rolled inverted and fell. 5 remaining. Now 400 yards between them and Hell's Fury. 3 seconds to impact. Donovan shifted to the next fighter. No time to track properly. Pure instinct, he fired where the target would be in 2 seconds, not where it was, where physics said it had to go. The second BF-109 flew directly into the stream of bullets. Catastrophic damage to the engine cowling. The fighter exploded in a ball of orange flame. The 3 remaining fighters broke formation immediately, not repositioning for another pass, full defensive maneuvers, fleeing from a single gun position. Jesus Christ! Whitmore's voice crackled over the intercom. Donovan just splashed 2 more in 3 seconds. But Donovan wasn't celebrating. He was reloading. His last ammunition belt, 400 rounds remaining, and the mission was only half over. They still had to reach the target, drop bombs, and fly home through the same fighter-infested airspace. The formation continued toward Augsburg. German fighters regrouped at a distance, 12 aircraft remaining from the original 18. They'd learned their lesson. Direct stern attacks cost too much. They needed different tactics. What came next surprised everyone. The German fighters didn't attack. They shadowed the bomber formation, stayed just outside gun range, waited. Whitmore recognized the pattern immediately. They're calling in reinforcements. We're about to get hit by everything they've got. He was right. 10 minutes later, radar picked up new contacts. 36 fighters, a full grouper, 3 staffels of BF-109s and FW-190s, combined with the 12 already shadowing them. Hell's Fury faced 48 enemy fighters, 48-1. Standard procedure, radio for fighter escort. Tighten formation with nearby bombers. Maximize overlapping defensive fire. Survive through coordination. But Hell's Fury had drifted from formation during the earlier attacks. The nearest friendly bomber was 3 miles away. No P-51 escorts in range. They were alone. Donovan checked his ammunition. 380 rounds against 48 fighters. The math didn't work, unless he'd changed the equation. "Captain," Donovan called over the intercom. "Permission to try something." "What?" "Attack." Silence. Then Whitmore's voice, carefully controlled. "Explain." "Those fighters are forming up for a coordinated assault. Give them 2 minutes and they'll hit us from every angle simultaneously. We can't defend against that, but we can disrupt it. If I engage while they're still organizing, I can force them to scatter before they're ready. You'll be out of ammunition in 30 seconds. Then I better make them count." Donovan's voice was steady. "Sir, defensive tactics don't work when you're outnumbered 20-1. Our only chance is aggressive action while they're still vulnerable." Whitmore considered for 3 seconds, then made his decision. "Do it. If you get us killed, I'm writing your family a very angry letter." Donovan didn't waste time responding. The German formation was 2,000 yards out, still organizing. Lead elements establishing attack vectors, trailing elements moving into support positions, perfect vulnerability. Donovan opened fire. Not short-controlled bursts, not suppressive fire, maximum sustained barrage. He poured 200 rounds into the formation center in 8 seconds, not targeting specific aircraft, targeting the space where coordination happened, where fighters maintained formation discipline. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Tracers crossed through the formation's core. One BF-109 caught fire and spiraled down. 2 others collided, trying to evade. The entire formation disintegrated into chaos. 48 fighters scattered in every direction. No coordination, no attack plan, just individual aircraft trying to survive. "Holy—" Whitmore didn't finish. He didn't need to. Everyone saw it. One tail gunner with a suicidal attack run had just broken up the largest fighter assault any of them had witnessed. But Donovan knew the truth. He'd bought them time. Maybe 2 minutes. Maybe less. The Germans would regroup. They'd be angry now. Aggressive. The next attack would come fast and furious, and he had 180 rounds left. The German fighters regrouped faster than expected. 90 seconds. This time they didn't bother with coordinated tactics. They swarmed. 12 fighters dove from 6 o'clock simultaneously. No formation, no strategy, just overwhelming violence. Donovan picked his targets carefully. Not the closest fighters, not the most aggressive. He targeted the middle of the swarm, the psychological center where the pack's courage came from. He fired 30-round bursts into 3 consecutive aircraft. All 3 took hits. 1 exploded. 2 broke off trailing smoke. The remaining 9 fighters continued their attack run. Now within 400 yards, cannon fire lit up the sky. 20-millimeter rounds streaked past Hell's Fury's tail section. Some connected. Metal shrieked. The aircraft shuddered. But Donovan kept firing. Target. Burst. Target. Burst. Mechanical precision. No fear. No hesitation. Another BF-109 fell. Then another. 5 remaining. 200 yards. Point-blank range. Donovan could see the pilots' faces. Young men. Determined. Professional. He shot them anyway. 2 more fighters exploded. 3 left. 100 yards. The survivors broke off. Too close. Risk of collision now exceeded reward of the kill. Donovan tracked 1 last fighter. Squeezed the trigger. Nothing. The guns were dry. He'd expended all ammunition. 180 rounds in 45 seconds. 6 fighters destroyed as that engagement alone. But now he was defenseless. "I'm out," Donovan called over the intercom. "Dry on all guns." "Copy," Whitmore responded. "Damage report. Anyone hit?" The crew checked in. Ball turret took minor damage. Rudder showed stress fractures, but everyone was alive. All systems functional. Hell's Fury could still fly, could still fight, just without her tail guns. The German fighters knew it. They regrouped one final time. 27 aircraft remaining from the original 48. They'd lost 21 fighters to a single bomber, to a single gun position. The loss rate was catastrophic, unsustainable. But they had one advantage now. The tail position was neutralized. They attacked from directly astern, 6 o'clock low. The one vector Donovan's empty guns couldn't cover. Standard tactic when you know the enemy is defenseless. They came in tight formation, slow, methodical. No wasted shots. This was execution. Donovan watched them approach. 400 yards, 300, 200. He had no ammunition, no way to defend, but he had one weapon remaining. Psychology. He traversed his guns to track the lead fighter, followed it precisely, maintained perfect targeting discipline, as if his weapons were loaded, as if he could fire at any moment. The lead German pilot saw the twin 50s tracking him, saw the barrels aligned perfectly with his cockpit. He broke formation. Immediate hard right turn, pure instinct overriding knowledge. The guns might be empty, but the threat reaction was hard-wired. When someone aims at you, you evade. The rest of the formation followed their leader. They broke attack pattern, not because Donovan could shoot them, because they believed he could. The psychological impact of his previous kills created a phantom threat. Empty guns became as effective as loaded ones through reputation alone. "They're breaking off!" The ball turret gunner's voice cracked with relief. "They're actually breaking off!" And they were. The German formation scattered, didn't regroup for another attempt. They'd lost 21 aircraft to this single bomber. The cost was too high. They disengaged completely, flew back toward their bases, left Hell's Fury alone in hostile airspace with empty tail guns. The bomber formation continued to Augsburg, dropped their bombs, destroyed the aircraft factory, flew home through 3 more fighter contacts, but none engaged Hell's Fury. Word had spread through German radio communications. One B-17 with an insane tail gunner had single-handedly destroyed 21 fighters. The warning was clear. Avoid that aircraft. Too dangerous, too costly. Hell's Fury landed at Framlingham at 16:47 hours, 9 hours after takeoff. Donovan climbed out of his tail position. His hands were steady. No shakes, no visible stress. The ground crew swarmed the aircraft, counting damage: 47 bullet holes, 13 cannon strikes, destroyed hydraulic line, cracked rudder, but it flew. It survived. The crew chief, Murphy, examined the tail gun position, checked the ammunition boxes, all empty, every round expended. He found Donovan sitting on the tarmac, smoking a cigarette. "You used everything," Murphy said. 2,000 rounds. You fired every bullet we loaded." "Had to," Donovan replied. "Didn't have enough to waste any." "How many did he get?" Whitmore asked. Murphy consulted his notes, counts from other crew members, radio intercepts from German communications, visual confirmations from escort fighters who'd finally caught up near the target. 12 confirmed kills, Murphy said. 4 probables, 3 damaged. Whitmore looked at Donovan. "You destroyed 12 fighters in one mission." 19 if you count probables and damaged, Murphy added, in 4 minutes of sustained combat. The news spread through the bomber group before sunset. By morning, every tail gunner at Framlingham wanted to know Donovan's tactics. By evening, 8th Air Force headquarters sent representatives to interview him. Major General Frederick Anderson arrived personally. He found Donovan in the barracks, cleaning his guns. "At ease, Sergeant. I'm here to understand what you did yesterday." Donovan explained his philosophy. Aggressive fire, psychological intimidation, attacking during the enemy's formation phase. Anderson listened without interruption. When Donovan finished, the general asked one question. "Can you teach this?" "To the right men," Donovan said. "You need gunners who think like fighters, who'd rather attack than defend." "Find them," Anderson ordered. "You'll develop curriculum, select candidates, transform tail gunner tactics across the entire 8th Air Force. You're reassigned to Training Command." Donovan hesitated. "Sir, I prefer to stay with my crew." "Your crew doesn't need you anymore. Other crews are dying because their gunners don't know what you know. Which is more important, 9 men or 9,000? Donovan accepted the assignment. He spent the next month developing the Donovan Doctrine. Aggressive tail gunnery, 5 core principles. First, seize initiative, engage during their formation phase, force them to respond to you. Second, psychological warfare. Your first burst doesn't need to destroy, it needs to intimidate. Third, focus fire. Concentrate all firepower on the most dangerous sector. Fourth, ammunition economy through aggression. Prevention costs less than reaction. Fifth, accept risk. Individual risk versus collective survival. The mission mattered more than the man. The doctrine faced immediate resistance. Traditional gunners called it reckless. Officers worried about ammunition waste. Instructors labeled it suicide. But the statistics didn't lie. March 1944. 38% tail gunner casualty rate. June 1944. 23%. 15% reduction. Fighter engagement statistics told the real story. In March, German fighters completed 52% of their planned attacks. By June, 27%. Aggressive fire disrupted coordination so effectively that more than half of all attacks aborted before reaching firing position. The psychological impact extended beyond individual missions. German fighter pilots began avoiding bombers known to employ aggressive gunners. Radio intercepts captured German squadron leaders, warning pilots away from specific American formations. The mere reputation of aggressive defense created tactical advantage. Donovan trained 300 tail gunners between March and August 1944. 2 weeks of intensive instruction. Live fire exercises, psychological conditioning. His favorite saying became doctrine. Fear happens when you react. Confidence happens when you act first. Not every candidate succeeded. 30% washed out. Couldn't overcome defensive instincts. Couldn't embrace the necessary aggression. Those who succeeded became legends. By war's end, graduates accounted for 43% of all tail gunner kills in the European theater. One graduate, Sergeant Thomas Bailey, destroyed 16 fighters in his first 4 missions. Another, Sergeant Robert Chen, survived 27 missions without taking serious damage. The aggressive doctrine didn't just increase kills, it increased survival through deterrence. German pilots learned to recognize aggressive gunners, early opening fire at extreme range, sustained barrage instead of conserved bursts. When German pilots saw these indicators, they broke off immediately. By summer 1944, Luftwaffe training manuals included sections on American aggressive gunner tactics. The recommended counter-approach was simple. Avoid, find easier targets. The psychological battle had reversed. Now German fighters feared American gunners. Donovan's personal combat career ended with that March 6th mission. He never flew another combat sortie, spent the rest of the war training others. But his influence extended far beyond his 12 confirmed kills. Conservative estimates credit the Donovan Doctrine with saving 300 American bombers, 3,000 aircrew. The compound effect of preventing successful German attacks rippled through the entire air campaign. 8th Air Force conducted detailed analysis in 1945. They compared bomber losses before and after aggressive gunner doctrine implementation. March through May 1944, average losses of 14 bombers per 1,000 sorties. June through August 1944. Average losses of 8 bombers per 1,000 sorties. Same targets, same German defences. 43% reduction in losses. The difference? Gunners who shot first. German records captured after the war revealed the enemy perspective. Luftwaffe after-action reports from summer 1944 consistently mentioned American gunner aggression. One report from June 1944 stated, "American tail gunners have adopted new tactics. They engage formations during approach phase with sustained fire. Effect is psychological disruption of attack coordination. Recommendation: avoid direct stern approaches. Utilize high-angle diving attacks from 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock positions." The recommendation proved difficult to implement. High-angle diving attacks required different training, different coordination, different risk assessment. Many German pilots couldn't adapt. Those who tried anyway encountered aggressive waist gunners using similar tactics. The Donovan Doctrine had spread to every defensive position on American bombers. By August 1944, German fighter effectiveness against American bombers had declined by 63% compared to January 1944 levels. Multiple factors contributed: better fighter escorts, improved bomber formation tactics, strategic targeting of German oil production. But internal Luftwaffe analysis attributed 28% of the decline, specifically, to American aggressive gunner tactics. 28%. The work of one tail gunner who refused to wait for death to find him. After the war, Donovan returned to Boston, worked construction, never talked about the war. When journalists found him in the 1960s, he declined interviews. "I did what needed doing. So did 300 other gunners. They're the real story." One of those gunners, Bailey, disagreed in a 1972 interview. "Before him, we thought survival meant hiding. Mike taught us survival means making the enemy scared to attack you. Sounds simple, changes everything." Donovan died in 1998, age 76. The Boston Globe obituary mentioned his Distinguished Service Cross, his construction work, his family. One paragraph mentioned his war service. That paragraph didn't mention 12 kills in 4 minutes, didn't mention 300 gunners trained, didn't mention 3,000 lives saved. His funeral drew 17 people, family mostly, 2 war buddies, no military honors, just a quiet service. But the other tail gunners, knew. They'd gathered the night before at a bar in South Boston, raised glasses, told stories. Bailey, now 74, gave the toast. Mike Donovan never thought he was special, just a guy doing his job. But his job saved 3,000 of us. Every bomber that made it home because German fighters broke off. Every gunner who survived because he learned to be aggressive. Every mission that succeeded because the enemy was too scared to engage. That's Mike's legacy. Not 12 kills, 12,000 lives. The Donovan Doctrine remains standard in modern aerial combat training. Fighter pilots learn aggressive engagement principles. Gunners on transport aircraft study psychological intimidation tactics. Even modern, missile defense systems incorporate the concept of early engagement to disrupt enemy coordination. March 6, 1944. Lasted 4 minutes. 1 tail gunner. 12 enemy fighters. The moment when defense became offense. When reaction became action. When one South Boston street fighter proved that survival doesn't come from hiding. It comes from making your enemy too scared to fight. Michael Donovan fired 2,000 rounds, destroyed 12 aircraft, saved 3,000 lives, changed warfare forever. Not because he was special, because he refused to wait for death to come find him. He went hunting first. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe. Your support helps us preserve these histories. Tell us in the comments. Where are you watching from? We honor the courage of these men by remembering their names. Thank you for keeping their stories alive.